Number 1. eBay, the original. Every other platform on this list exists because eBay existed first and did certain things poorly enough that someone decided to build something better. Launched in 1995, it became the default marketplace for vintage watch transactions throughout the 2000s before specialist platforms arrived. Enormous inventory, zero authentication guarantee, buyer protection that requires active effort to invoke. eBay is where the deals are and where the fakes are, often listed side by side. Experience is the only filter that works reliably. Number 2. Craigslist. Local, cash, no fees, no recourse. The watch equivalent of buying a car from someone's driveway. Occasionally produces extraordinary finds from estates and collections that never reach the broader market. More occasionally, produces a replica tutor and a very unpleasant afternoon. Craigslist watches trade at discounts that reflect the risk premium the buyer absorbs. If you know exactly what you are looking at and can verify it in person, the discount is real. If you cannot, the discount is the fee you pay for the education. Number 3. Facebook Marketplace. Craigslist with photographs and a social media layer that creates false confidence. The seller's profile exists, which means nothing. The photos are real, which also means nothing. Facebook Marketplace has become a significant channel for estate and collection liquidations in markets where specialist platforms have not yet penetrated, particularly outside major cities. The prices are often soft. The authentication risk is identical to Craigslist. Treat it accordingly. Number 4. Watchaseek forums, the old internet. Watchaseek's sales forums predate every specialist platform on this list and still operate with the same trust-based model they always have. Seller reputation built through forum participation, transaction feedback accumulated over years, community members who will identify a dial variant or movement swap from a single photograph. The fees are minimal. The vetting is social rather than institutional. It works because the community has 40 years of collective knowledge and a low tolerance for bad actors. Number 5. The Real, the luxury consignment platform that treats watches as one category among many, alongside handbags, jewelry, and clothing. Authentication is performed in-house by staff whose watch expertise varies considerably by location and reviewer. The inventory skews toward recognizable luxury references, Rolex, Cartier, Omega, because those are the watches consigners bring and buyers search for. Prices sit at the higher end of secondary market rates. The convenience is genuine. The authentication depth is not always equal to the price being asked for it. Number 6. Vestiaire Collective, the European counterpart to the Real, headquartered in Paris and stronger in European inventory as a result. Patek Philippe, Audemars Piguet, and vintage French dress watches appear here in volumes that reflect the platform's geography. Authentication is performed before the item ships to the buyer. The watch goes to Vestiaire first, then to the purchaser. That step adds time and friction. It also adds a layer of confidence that purely peer-to-peer platforms cannot offer. The friction is the point. Number 7. Chrono24, the largest dedicated watch marketplace in the world. Over 500,000 listings. From dealers and private sellers across 100 countries. Launched in Germany in 2003, the platform does not authenticate watches itself, but offers an escrow service, trusted checkout, where payment is held until the buyer confirms receipt and satisfaction. Dealer listings carry more implicit accountability than private seller listings. Chrono24 is the first place most serious buyers search because the depth of inventory means the market price for any reference is visible immediately. Number 8. Bob's Watches, the specialist Rolex platform that Bob's trades exclusively in Rolex references, authenticates every watch in-house, and prices everything at clearly published buy and sell rates with no negotiation. Launched in 2010 as a response to the opacity of the vintage Rolex market. The model is transparent to a degree that most watch dealers find uncomfortable and most buyers find refreshing. If the reference exists, Bob's has probably had it. If you want to know what a Rolex is worth on any given day, Bob's published prices are a more reliable data point than most auction results. Number 9. Bezel. The app-first platform targeting a younger demographic, comfortable transacting entirely on mobile. Clean interface, verified seller badges, buyer protection built into every transaction. Launched in the United States in the early 2020s and grew quickly among the streetwear-adjacent watch community, the demographic that treats the Casio G-Shock and the Rolex GMT Master as equally legitimate objects of desire, which they are. Bezel's authentication is performed by the platform before the watch ships. The inventory skews modern and sports-oriented. The vintage depth is not yet there. Number 10. Omega Certified Pre-Owned. The manufacturer entering its own secondary market directly. Launched in 2022, the program allows buyers to purchase pre-owned Omega watches certified, serviced, and warrantied by Omega itself. 2 years of coverage, authentic parts, factory-level inspection. The prices reflect the certification premium. Expect to pay more than the gray market equivalent. What is purchased in return is complete documentation of the watch's condition and a warranty that the manufacturer will honor. For buyers who find the secondary market's ambiguity genuinely uncomfortable, this is the answer Omega built specifically for them. Number 11. Rolex Certified Pre-Owned. Rolex's version of the same program, launched the same year through authorized dealers, a green tag, a 2-year warranty, factory inspection. The Rolex CPO program is significant, not because of what it offers, manufacturer certification exists elsewhere, but because of what it signals. The largest watch brand in the world acknowledging that the secondary market is a permanent and legitimate part of how its watches are bought and sold. That acknowledgement took decades. It arrived. Number 12. Antiquorum. The Geneva auction house that has been selling important watches since 1974. The first auction house to treat the wristwatch as a serious collectible rather than a used luxury good. Antiquorum's historical sale records are the foundation of vintage watch valuation. When a reference trades at premium, the data supporting that premium often traces back to an Antiquorum result from the 1990s or 2000s, less dominant in the current market than it once was, but the archive is irreplaceable, and the expertise of the specialist staff remains among the deepest in the business. Number 13. Christie's. The generalist auction house with a serious watch department. Christie's watch sales sit alongside jewelry, art, and decorative objects rather than in a dedicated watch-only context, which affects the buyer pool and occasionally the prices in both directions. Important single-owner collections and estate sales appear here in formats that specialist platforms cannot replicate. The estimate ranges published before each sale are the most honest public signals of what the auction house believes the market will bear. They are correct more often than not. Number 14. Sotheby's, Christie's peer and competitor in the important watch category. The rivalry between the two houses drives competitive cataloging, aggressive pursuit of consignments, and occasionally spectacular results that neither house would achieve without the other. Sotheby's has become particularly active in the Asian watch market. Hong Kong sales attract bidders whose participation has materially changed price levels for certain vintage references over the past decade. The auction house is no longer a Western institution selling to Western collectors. It is a global market with a London and New York address. Number 15. Phillips, the specialist. Phillips' watch department, led by Oral Bax until his departure and carrying his influence in the culture he built, is the auction house most responsible for the current state of the vintage watch market. The Paul Newman Daytona sold here in 2017 for $17.75 million. The Geneva Watch Auction Series created a calendar event that the entire collector community organizes around twice a year. Phillips does not sell the most watches. It sells the watches that establish what watches are worth. That distinction defines everything. Number 16. Watchbox, the institutional secondary market player. Watchbox buys, certifies, and resells pre-owned watches at scale. hundreds of references in inventory at any time, in-house authentication, professional photography, published pricing, operates showrooms in Philadelphia, Dubai, Hong Kong, and Zurich. The model sits between auction house and dealer, borrowing elements of both. Watchbox is where the secondary market goes when it wants to feel like retail, organized, legible, and operating to a consistent standard regardless of which city the transaction happens in. Number 17, dealers. The oldest channel and still the most important one for serious collectors. An independent watch dealer, a specialist in a particular category, brand, or era, offers something no platform can replicate: genuine expertise, a curated selection, and accountability that exists beyond a terms of service agreement. The best dealers have handled more important references than most collectors will ever see. Their prices reflect that knowledge. Their relationships with long-term clients produce access to watches that never reach any platform. The dealer is not being disrupted by technology. The dealer is where technology sends you when it cannot answer the question you're actually asking.